waters thundering now. A song of hope from sons and daughters crying out.
All right. Yay. Good evening, everyone. It is so good to see all of you here in person tonight. Yay. I can see that, Kyra. Well, like it's hard in between the lights. But for those who are watching online, I'm Natanya. I'm the campus minister here, and welcome to our Day Talk series. We are doing a 5-week series of different interviews with actual multiple couples that we're going to interview on while they're dating life, their married life, how they got to know each other, and what wisdom they can share with us, because we can learn probably a lot from them. So last week, we talked about Decide Your Guide, and I'll have a whole one, please, with Trevor and Yvette. And they're kind of like the senior leaders here in Every Nation Ghent, and very good friends of mine. And today, I actually have the pleasure of introducing you to Joris and Lissa, if you don't know them yet. They're also very good friends of mine. And they're actually newlyweds. Well, almost a year in September. Almost. Still newlyweds. But they've had an interesting journey. I have known Joris way longer than before they got together. But I saw their journey and I was part of that a little bit. And I just think they have a great story to tell and a lot of wisdom to share with us as well. So, yeah, welcome, Joris and Lissa. Thanks for making time for us tonight and for being here in between all the busyness and crazy schedule and crazy jobs at the moment. So I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about understanding the opposite sex tonight. So if you've missed last week's talk, it's on YouTube. It's on our Facebook page as well, so you can always go back and check out that as well. But today is understanding the opposite sex. And for that, we have a few questions, but I want to start off with asking you guys to maybe introduce yourself a little bit. So who you are, a little bit of your story, where you come from, why, I don't know, maybe you have a crazy dialect that I haven't picked up on, something like that. Since we can't share Joris's phone number tonight, as Trevor used to do a lot of the times, but that one doesn't work anymore, I think. Right, Lissa?
No.
But yeah, go for it.
Hi, I'm Lissa. I am 20 years old. I live in Waregem with this beautiful guy. I am working as a team leader for a freight forwarding company. I have a passion for flowers, a heart for girls with identity issues. I come from a Christian family. My parents are divorced since I was 7 years. And I am part of the campus ministry of Natanya. So that's short who I am and a bit of me. So
Hey, good evening. I'm Joris. So thank you, Natanya, for we are really honored to that you asked us. So we hope to inspire some of you. So I'm Joris. I'm just married with Lissa. I was born and raised in Sint-Niklaas. It's between Ghent and Antwerp. I work in Antwerp, and I'm working there in a railroad transport company, and I manage the cars in the company. I was born and raised in a Christian family as well, and my brother led me into this church where I had to get to know, to learn Lissa. So as you can tell, I have sometimes a struggle with my tongue for my English dialect. So I hope you forgive me on that. I also have a passion for cars, a passion for sailing, and I love to go skiing and all that kind of stuff. So if it's speed involved, then I'm there.
Got to turn the mic on. That's going to happen a few times tonight, I think. But yeah, that's awesome. And did you tell them, Joris, that you are very passionate about cars? Anything that drives?
I think
sailing?
Yeah, that's all true. I think passion of cars is like a little bit exceptional, out of the border. Actually, it should be way less, but yeah. Jesus is coming in the first place, actually. But
Lissa in the second, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. Hobbies. We're talking hobbies, you know.
All right. So, how did you guys meet? How did you guys? Yeah, what's a little bit of your story? How did you start dating? How did you get to this point of being married and now being here tonight?
Yeah, I'll kick off, and I'm gonna verbeteren. Lissa is going to fix the things I said wrong. So, actually, Lissa came into this church when I was here already, and she was brought in with a friend. And at a certain point, I said, "Hey, that's an interesting girl there." So I think we first introduced, and it was then around small groups and everything. So, by the way, small groups are a great way to get to know some new people. So at a certain point, she didn't came back. I don't know why, but so 8 months later, she showed up again, and after church we went for a drink. It was in the evenings that we had church, and then after church we went to a cafe and stuff like that. And then we went with the whole group. It was super awesome. So at a certain point, I said, "Hey, Lisa, and your friend, do you want to join us to go for a drink?" And there I was like, "Yeah, let me to get to know this girl." So from there on, we had a chat. And then we connected on Facebook. Further on, we started to chat. And I'm like, this chat is taking... I had a bad experience with chatting, so I really want to see people so I can read a little bit of them. So at a certain point, I was like, okay, let's go for a drink, And from there on, we started getting to know each other. At a certain point, we bumped into some friends. And then, oh, you guys, are you guys a couple? And we didn't discuss it really well. I just said to Lisa, hey, let's go for a drink to get to know each other. There's such a high stake on are you going to date and stuff like that. So I'm like, we're just going for a drink. That's it. You just don't get to know someone by directly dive into dating and stuff like that. So. I was kind of cautious. I'm a very careful. I don't take too much risk, So at a certain point, we said, okay, let's frame this because all these people are asking us questions. Let's meet together on. Maybe you can explain it a little better because my English is failing.
It's not failing. I think we set some rules for ourselves on, because what Joris is saying, the word dating is such a high weight that people put on it. It's like, oh, you will have a relationship and you are going to marry and stuff like that. But no, we are just checking if this is a nice person or I have fun with this person. Who is he? Who is she? And we wanted to get to know each other. So in the first stage, we just said to people, we are getting to know each other. We are seeing if this is going anywhere, so that people could not push harder on us and make it more difficult than what it is. Just see if someone is a good person to get to start dating and then go into a relationship. So that's what we in the beginning did, and we talked around this privately so that the awkward moments when people are asking, and what is your relationship status, that you are not there and like, yeah, we are not Facebook official yet, or how do people say it? So we talked around these topics privately just to not hurt the other ones and set expectations right, because sometimes someone can get into dating and have certain expectations while the other one has other expectations of it. So we clearly talked around what are here the expectations from each other and how are we going to handle this towards friends and family and other people that are asking questions. Because in the beginning we went on dates with Natanya and Yalmer with us, so it was kind of in a friendship environment. And they started asking questions as well, of course. And then we said, yeah, we are just getting to know each other. And they were on that journey with us. And after a few months, I think 4 months, we had our first kiss. And then people are asking, and are you official? Do you have a relationship? And in the beginning, we are all the time asking, when is it a relationship? Because before the 4 months we didn't kiss, but we are like, yeah, we have a relationship, but we didn't kiss yet. So for people in the world, sometimes you don't have a relationship if you didn't kiss yet. So we didn't want to put that standard for us as well. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, normally the world says like, hey guys, if you're on the third date, you should kiss. And we said like, we just don't gonna follow the world's advice, let's just take our time for it. So a lot of people ask then, are you in a relationship? And if you're in a relationship, I ask them the question back, when are you in a relationship? If it's the first kiss or, so fast forward, after a while, we got the advice from our pastor to start with a book. It's called Before I Say I Do. And he said, I get a lot of guys who are just engaged, and then they have to do this book on they have to go through it on 6 months. And then next to that, they have to prepare their wedding and everything like that. And so it takes a lot of time. So he gave the advice, and he said, if you first start already in the beginning of your relationship, we said, yeah, we're gonna do and try that. And then, a lot of people say, yeah, you have to test drive the car and stuff like that. And hey, we were surprised by the book. We went through together with the coach, and then we bumped into topics like, hey, yeah, we don't come up on the idea of talking about these topics. So that made it very interesting, sometimes tensionful, but we really got together to know each other in a different way. Values pop up and stuff like that. So that was really cool. So when the book was almost already finished, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ask her to marry me. So during lockdown, me and a bunch of very good family supported me, because friends, it wasn't allowed to during. So I asked a bunch of family to support me in that, and we did some cool stuff around there. I asked her at her home, and she said yes, I want to marry you. So and then from there on, we went together. We set up a party. We were only allowed to marry with 30 people or something, or 50 people, and then we married during the lockdown. That's a little bit of our story.
Sharing, guys, and I mean, I have had the privilege of seeing it up close, and the reason why, I didn't ask Trevor and Yvette to share their entire story. They shared it a little bit throughout the interview last week, but I really wanted to do this because the way they've done it and the way they've gone about it, as in really starting to get to know each other, dating without the pressure, but in community, in combination with sometimes alone time as well. But they did it with friends. And then the pre-marriage course, the book that they were just talking about, just so you know, here in Every Nation Ghent, this is kind of like the material before people are getting married, or when they decide they want to get married. We actually recommend going through that. And it's kind of to see, are you really on the same page? And have you talked about topics like finances? How were you brought up to handle your finances together? Topics that you don't usually come up always necessarily when you're dating, but that are kind of important topics when you are married and you're gonna bump into. And part of that reason is because when here in Ghent, when in the 10 years that Trevor has been here and the 5 years that I have been here, so many young couples have gotten divorced a year, 2 years, 5 years after they got married. So, and part of that is because they had completely different ideas of what a relationship would look like. And for some of them, that was oh, but I actually thought about an open marriage. And the other one was what? Why didn't we talk about that? For some other people, it goes about finances. But we've seen that so many times that preparation and being intentional about dating, in our experience, is actually a good thing, because up until you get married, you can still say no if you haven't said yes yet to that. So it's important to just be intentional about that, I think, and that's kind of why we brought it up as well, and why I asked you guys to very specifically mention that part of your journey, because it's an example for me at least. So. But today, specifically, we're going to talk about understanding the opposite sex. And one of our greatest needs in relationship is our need to be understood. And why is it so important to actually learn to understand each other as you've gone about this journey?
This is not an easy question. We had to think about it a bit as well. But what we've learned also through the book, because you get those kind of questions, they really challenge you on these things, is you want to be understood because you feel valuable and you feel safe when I am talking to Joris about this is important to me, and Joris is really listening and answering in actions or just being sometimes patient or respectful in things that I'm saying, I feel valuable and I feel like, okay, yours is respecting me and I feel more safe. So I will, for the next thing, trust yours again and the relationship can grow. If there is no safety or you don't feel that the other person is valuing you, you will shut down and in the end, you close and then the relationship cannot grow. Sometimes it will even separate you. So I think that's one of the important things. Maybe you can.
So one of the things I think is important is Lissa is like a super sweet, nice, loving, caring wife. So yeah, once there was a guy who said, "Happy wife, happy life," you know, and she's not going to bring the devil out of it. But on the other hand, it's my assignment or my mission to make her happy. So if I really listen to what she values, I can start meeting those expectations or those values or those carings, you know, what her heart longs for. So that's my kind of my mission. Okay. So the things that we value, once you're valued, it's the same feeling as feeling loved, you know. So I think that's a very strong thing. Once she is doing stuff for me, then I'm like, yes. For instance, I'm like with my cars, you know, I have a freaky thing. You cannot put your hands on the trunk because then there's 4 fingers, you know. Sometimes you see these small fingers and sometimes it's big fingers. So I ask her, I do value when my car is dirty, please don't put your fingers on there. And so sometimes somebody else closes the trunk and then I'm like, my wife doesn't do that. You know, that is so cool because I have a high value for that. So these are like stupid little things, but that can become so extremely and so big. Like, you didn't do this and this and this and this. So I don't feel actually loved, you know. So once she's doing that, but by just making me food or something like that, and she's making my good food, I'm like, yes, tonight it's my favorite food. So and then I can truly say, like, I so feel loved and so valued that you take care of me and that you are making these sacrifices and offers and everything, because I know it's a bunch of work. So yeah, that's super cool.
Jump in here, and I'm gonna throw a question that was not on the list.
Oh, okay.
That you did not prepare for, but I think you can do it. But I don't know if any in the audience have read the book The 5 Love Languages, but what you just referred to is Lissa speaking your love language. So I just wanted to ask to maybe like explain a little bit how, for example, having the knowledge about the 5 love languages has made a difference in your relationship. And maybe just as a short recap, so there are 5 love languages, and we kind of speak all 5 a little bit, but we have like one that is the main one that we receive love through. Even as singles, even as like, yeah, if you're married, if you're dating, if you're a kid. And the idea is you kind of have this love tank inside of you that needs to be filled. And when it's empty, you're love deprived. But we're humans, we need love. We want to be known and we want to know other people, and we want to love and be loved. So your 5 love languages is physical touch, is gifts, giving of gifts, serving, acts of service, words, and spending time, quality time. So words is like giving compliments and stuff like that. So how has that, because you just gave that example, how has that made an influence in how you guys dated?
I think in the beginning, because you first need to check on yourself, like, what is my love language, which is not very easy, but sometimes there are a little bit of questions that you can fill in, and then you will see what really is the highest value. Like Natanya said, everything is a bit. For me, spending time is a high one. If Joris would be away the whole week and I get 1 hour a week or something, I would be very, very angry. So it really makes a difference on knowing how the other person is, because you can do things and expect that the other person has the same, let's say, outcome on your efforts, but maybe it's not true. For example, Joris is not the really wordy guy. Like, I can give him compliments all I want, say he's looking good, and it will just not fill the tank as much as me respecting the car and making good food and serving him in a good way. So really knowing what the other person's love language is helps a lot to not get frustrated, or also for yourself, because you think I'm doing this and this and that, but for the other one, it's not the same value as for you. So I think it really helps when you know the other one's love language, because you can, work with that.
Yeah, I'm just laughing because I went through our dating process, and I think early on I already tried to to get to know her. Like, here, do you know your love languages? Here's the test. Yeah, let's share it. So like, I have to focus on the top 3. Yours, do your work. So yeah.
Tips for most of us, like, just even if you're right now, do it already, and make sure you start asking, or like even looking, what are other people's, when do they feel loved and respected and valued the most, and start speaking those intentionally. It's good practice for the moment you do start dating, I think.
Yes, and they are not only working with like a loving relationship, it's also with friends or family. You will have the same love languages. So maybe if on the topic of understanding, I can add a little bit. Like, I thought that when you're understood, when you feel understood, that you feel valuable. And when you're a Christian and when you're single and you have your relationship with God and you're really intentional about that, you will know that God values you. He puts a really high value on you. And when you are marrying and you get a relationship, the purpose is that the person that is coming into that circle with you and God, that the value remains the same. It cannot be that the value that God puts on you, that you will not be as certain that the value is still the same when someone enters into that relationship, because it will be the 3 of you, and the person that you are dating or that you are marrying should have put the same value on you like God is doing. So I think it's really something important when you are dating, is that you are checking, is this person really valuing me and who I am, not who the person wants me to be. So I think that's a very important one to check on when you're dating or looking to date with someone.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. So what are some things that, like, some differences between the opposite sex and sexes, multiple, and what are some things that you had to learn to understand about, like, each other's opposite sex then. Whether that is things about the body or like spiritual things or just the soul, how you, yeah, your entire whole package.
Well, the bodies do differ. Maybe one of the things I learned through the process was I can maybe go off road. So one of the things I learned in the first place is because Lisa is such a beautiful, nice, sweet lady. She was just riding my wave because I asked her for a date and stuff like that. So I had to take the lead, and yeah, that was totally different than I used to do normally. So I'm kind of the surfing guy, you know, riding the wave, and now I had to lead. So it made me shift through some gears on how to go forward. I had to plan, make some stuff up, and yeah, come up with some. So I really learned that. Maybe I also learned that giving presents and attentions and stuff like that, no matter how small they are, women fall for it, you know. So it's super cool. And then yeah, they feel valued and loved, and then yeah, they're just going next level, you know. So yeah, I had to write them down because I forgot a lot of stuff. So women want to take care for, and yeah, that's one of the things. So maybe you can add a few to the list.
One of the very obvious things is men want to be respected, women want to be loved, is a very, yeah, one that everyone knows, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Like, men want to be respected. If you are not working in that way, it's really not so obvious. So I had to learn, like, how can I respect Joris? And now it's in the little things, like taking the same care for his car as he does. And if we are agreeing on something, like we are going to do it this way, and talking respectfully about Joris. For example, when we were dating, we agreed on, in the beginning, it's just the two of us, and we had Natanja and Jalmer as well that were doing the journey, but we would not go outside with, we are dating, and because it was something that was for a high value for Joris, and he really wanted it that way. So I respected him in that, and I didn't go to my girlfriend's like, I'm dating Joris, and because girls are others than boys. Boys are not not screaming like I'm going on a date, but girls sometimes can go that crazy. So it can be a bit, maybe even not so attractive for a boy to ask a girl when she's really loud and I'm going for a date finally, and if she's making it bigger than what it actually is. So I think respect is something like this as well. Another difference is a woman sometimes, or I can speak for myself, when I'm talking about problems or issues or things in my life, Joris most of the time wants to fix things, like he's do this or that, and I'm like, no, you don't need to fix it. I just want to tell you what's going on. You don't need to give me all the solutions. I just want to put it off my heart and talk with you about it, but don't come with solutions. So that was a big difference that Joris needed to learn. And still, yeah, it still is doing. Like, sometimes I need to say, shh, no, just listen. And good communication. We are not the, let's say, typical ones in in this, but Joris is, his heart is on his tongue. He's just talking, and here's all you want to know: the emotions, everything. He's just sharing. But I was not like that, for sure not in the beginning. Like I was very shut down in myself and I don't want to talk about the deep stuff. And so I really had to learn that in a relationship, you share your deepest emotions as well, your fears, your um, struggles, your pains, your past, some painful things from the past that are very important for the other person to know. I had to learn to do that. And most of the times, it's the guys that are more silent about this topic and not sharing their hearts. But for me, it was I that had to do it. So that's a big difference, but it helps when you both are sharing because the safety needs to come in that area. So, um,
Yeah. So maybe a quick question for you guys. What are some differences that you have noticed about the opposite sex? And let's point them to Joris and Lissa and see if they have found them as well.
you see, it's not that easy.
Yeah, go for it, Luana. Yeah. 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 So Luana just mentioned about how they're doing conflict differently in her relationship. And I don't know if you've heard about this concept of hedgehogs and rhinos. So she is describing how she's a little bit more of a rhino and her husband a little bit more of a hedgehog. As in, he withdraws a little bit more, whereas she wants to straight on, head forward, jump in, fight it out right here, right now. But that's actually a very good one because how have you guys learned, like, noticed that difference in doing conflicts and in how you, like, your conflict resolution, how you bring that back? Because that has a lot to do with your upbringing and the different upbringings. And how has that affected your dating?
Can I? You will correct me afterwards anyway. So, um, yeah, I think we both are not really conflict. Yeah, we are both a bit scared of conflict is a big word, but we are not very fighty. So we both will have the intention to not go into the conflict. But Joris, because he one of his personal things is empathy, and he wants everything to be resolved. So he will not feel any peace in his heart until this conflict is resolved and I am happy. So he will just push my buttons like Luana is doing. We are going to talk about this because I have no peace if you are there not saying anything and being angry or sad. So I am more the hedgehog and yours is more the rhino, but not the rhino in being very hard. But he keeps pushing. And I think for me, I come from a broken family where I have seen divorce and conflict and a part of conflict that wasn't resolved. So conflict for me is mostly giving some fears, and it's a bad thing. And in our dating, I had to learn that conflict is not a bad thing. It's a normal thing in relationship. You can have differences, but you need to learn to talk about the differences. So I'm still learning that when there is something, I need to talk with Joris and not being silent, because we will not resolve it by not talking with each other.
Yeah, I think when my brother and I had a fight, when I was little, we just didn't spoke or played together for 3 days, and then yeah, suddenly I first moved over and it was like okay, and then I moved over and I was like, oh, he's okay, so I'm okay, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm actually kind of avoiding conflict, but now I learned to deal with. Okay, if you just talk about it, it helps you processing everything. So and yeah, l- we didn't had a lot of conflict in the beginning because she was so sweet and kind, and she said yes to everything. Let's go on adventure and stuff like that. So that was all great. So Lisa was even more avoiding conflict with me. And then at a certain point, I really wanted to know some stuff. But even now, I still have to be patient for myself. Like, I know she needs a little bit more time to process things out. So then I am there like, is it over already? Is it over already? Now and now and now and now and now and now. So, but yeah, that's the journey we are doing actually. So,
So, maybe like a more funny one. They say women have a little bit more of a spaghetti brain, and that guys have a nothing box. Is that true?
waffles.
Waffles. Do you have waffles, Joris?
I need to be careful here because I need to respect my husband and I need to be honest. So I think sometimes Joris has a spaghetti waffle because, but it comes because Joris a detail man, but he's more waffle than, and I'm more the spaghetti. I think, yeah, I am going everywhere. I'm thinking about this, and then that is coming. And sometimes we are in a conversation, and I mention, "Oh, we need to this and that," and then he's like, "We were talking about this. Let's keep it on this, please." And I'm, yeah, but okay, and then I mention again something. So yeah, I think that's one is a check for us.
It's confusing because I'm kind of a chaos. Everything I can do multiple things, and sometimes it's hard to keep focus. And on the other hand, she's like very structured. Everything is in boxes and placed and labeled and everything like that. So if I need to find something, I just read everything and I find it like that. But yeah, in that case, it might be confusing. Spaghettis, waffles, or nothing boxes. The nothing box is actually, I do have a big nothing box actually. It's not called a man cave, but I have a place where I can be like really focused and like later on she asked me something and then later on I'm like you never asked me something like that, or you didn't even mention. I have these moments like I'm just blackout. Like she said, yes, we were there, and we're that close, and you were saying that, and you were doing that. And then you said this. No clue at all. Like seriously, on the heart. So yeah. So that's the nothing box where Natanya talked about.
Yeah, I think that one. I mean, I grew up with like two brothers, so and so I understand a little bit about nothing boxes from them. I'm very annoying when they're in their nothing box or were in their nothing box. But
It really helps if she's calling my name and has eye contact, and then we learned a Flemish trick LSD, which is called luisteren, samenvatten, doorvragen. If she just says to me, "Okay, can you capture everything?" and I can't, then she knows I didn't respond or I didn't listen to it.
I mean, Lisa, I don't think we can blame them because if you listen to, for example, Trevor or my brothers or like a lot of other guys, they all speak about the nothing box. So I think that is specifically one, if you understand it, you can probably avoid a few arguments just by understanding that and knowing the LSD principle. So hence that question. um, so you've already mentioned how those differences had and gave a few examples of how those differences had an effect on your dating journey, on your relationship. But would you still like to elaborate a little bit on how those differences played out in your relationship, or are you like, yeah, we've kind of said it here? Because I know we kind of took both of those a little bit together now. So.
I think that we can say that we mentioned the book in the beginning, and we are very happy that we did it before we were engaged, because some topics come in there that will really help you. It's just thinking about things that maybe even now you didn't thought about it. Like, what are your values? What do you wanna do? How are you? How is your past? And those talking about those topics, we could see the differences between us, and we did it then together with Trevor and Yvette, and they will put some things on the table and say like, okay, you are more like this person and you are more like that. How will you go with these deal with these things in your relationship? I can give an example. I have been hurt a lot in the past, where Joris has been grown up in a very safe environment, and Joris is very fast in trusting people, where I'm always a bit suspicious. And Trevor was asking the question, okay, Lisa, what are you going to do when you're suspicious about someone and yours is just taking it in the house with your kids? And these kind of things, when you do that book, it will come up to the front and you will have these questions and you will need to think about it. Even if you don't have the answer yet, that you are aware of it and that you have to think already about it is a good thing. That when those things happen in your marriage or in your relationship, it will help you already and you will not have that first shock or like being surprised, oh, I never thought that this could happen, or that was something that was in that person and I'm completely the opposite. So I think, yeah, we don't have very practical things that I think at the moment, but during that journey we were really highlighted by some things out of the book. So.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, what we are actually talking about is that we all have blind spots, and when you take your date together with some people who have a good influence or have an example that they are living out, they can, or they might see some blind spots, like, guys, you're Joris, you have to take care for this. Have you seen that? No, I didn't. Thank you for helping me and seeing these things, so I don't bring just a stranger to our home, or just first maybe we have to discuss it, or talk about it. And on the other hand, I know, I have to listen to Lisa, because she has maybe a certain feeling to some people, and that she can be a guide for me, because my feelings are shut down in that area, So that can be something really good. So yeah.
So that brings us to, because you now mentioned how the book before you say I do helped you in that. That brings us to the question of what are a few things we can do even right now to learn to understand the opposite sex better.
I think it's very important to talk the understanding like really listening. Communication is two-way. It's talking, but it's listening. And you really need to listen to the other person. And if you don't understand things, it's not a crime to say, I don't understand this. Can you explain? Or if you are more romantic, what's romantic for you? Because romantic is a big thing. If a girl says, I am more a romantic person than guys are most practical and not romantic. But it's not a crime for the guy to ask, what is romantic for you? If for someone it's going on a trip to Paris, and for the other one it's candles and flowers and going for a picnic. So talk with each other about the differences and talk them through, not just asking the question, but really, what is that for you? I think it's very important to have a really, you can have like a long date night just around the differences that you both have. So talking with each other, I think, is a very important one. And like we said, having mentors or an example can also be helpful. People that are in another stage than you are. For example, if we would think about kids, we can definitely go to some people that we think, hey, they are raising their kids a certain way that we like, and we go talk with them and ask to them, like, how are you doing this, and what are certain things that you say for raising kids? I want this. And you can do the same when you're dating and you don't understand things about the opposite sex. Just search for a couple where you see, like, oh, these are doing it in that way, and I'm interested in what they are thinking and what their opinion is about that. So just talk with people that are an example for you, or a mentor, or things like that. Maybe you have something else to. I think an evening like this is also very helpful. Like if you are doing these things, reading books, looking up some blogs, resources. Like there are, for example, Moral Revolutions has a blog on dating, marriage, kids, sex, all these topics they are writing, and it's a good source. Don't don't just go to any source on the internet, because we know there's a bunch of crap. If you are finding something, just double check with a pastor or another leader in church, like, is this page or is this person a good source to go to? I think that can help as well.
Yeah. I think one last one that I'm thinking about that can maybe help right now already, or even when you're dating, is doing personality tests and like aptitude tests and stuff like that together. Think about StrengthsFinder, Via test. What's the other one? I forgot the name. You have so many. Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
But you, what's the other one with an E? Anyway, if you want some, I have a whole list somewhere on my computer. But they will help you to understand each other's character, how you will work in a team, for example. Because, I mean, ultimately, you're a team. I mean, trying to be, okay. But, yeah, how the other one will react. Or Lisa mentioned Joris, one of his strengths on the StrengthsFinder is empathy. I think I remember also one harmony, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
But it explains a lot about how he, for example, manages conflict. But those are things you can start preparing for while you're still single, but you can also do them together while you're dating and compare them, for example, just to really grasp what's the other person like, how will they respond in certain situations. And use that as a tool, I think, as well.
Yes, I think it's even a fun thing to do together, because you will discover a lot about yourself, but also the other one. And it really helps you in handling things together like we are now married and we are in a certain stage in our life, and Joris knows my strengths like maximize and responsibility, and at the moment it's every strength has a downfall and your partner can help you in your downfalls, like you are way too much maximizing, this will never work. And if they know, they will better understand like what's going on, what is this person doing at this moment and why. But and it helps for yourself sometimes to explain. It's a language we learned it. Trevor and Yvette learn us about this, and for us it's helping as well, because we are like, yeah, no, it's this I'm maximizing, or it's my responsibility, that's why I'm doing this. So yeah, it's
I think since we married, there didn't pass the day that we didn't talk about you're maximizing, you're empathying, you're harmonying. Yeah, but you're stuff like that. And I think in the beginning, early on, we started dating. We did these tests like the love languages. So I had to focus on these top three, and then the other ones are from the Strengths Finder. Yeah, and you learn to get to know yourself or certain aspects of that, and then also I had inside of her strengths as well, and then now it's really clearly coming up, so that's really interesting on how to, because yeah, like it's been mentioned already, it's a language, so otherwise it can be a frustration, and now you know, okay, this is a trait of a person, this is yeah, and it really helps.
Comes down to learning to understand how the other person, their design. And it kind of seems logic that I'm saying that, but it takes a lot of intentionality to learn to understand each other and to learn a lot to understand the opposite sex. And I think that's what ultimately what you guys are saying tonight comes down to. You were very intentional from the very beginning. And I have loved witnessing that. I still do. But I think if there's one thing that I'm taking away from this, and there are a lot of things, but then that's that probably. So with that said, we're gonna go over to Q&A now. So you guys, if you have questions or things you want to know about them, you can ask them. But we're first gonna say goodbye to the people on the live stream. So I just want to thank you guys for joining. It was really good to have you with us. And so next week, we're gonna be going into the third interview. It's gonna be again with Lissa and Joris. And what is the topic again? I think we're gonna be talking about the sex talk, right? Or is that the week after? That's the week after. Yeah. I can quickly
You
check.
still have to wait for a moment. Put
Well,
your
anyway.
alarm on next week, Thursday. Right?
No. The topic is lessons from Lover's Lane, because so you already know, like the week after is sex talk, but lessons from Lover's Lane for next week, because there's actually a lot we can learn from just past mistakes or other people's past relationships we had, dating experience. But again, it comes down to being intentional about it. So with that said, if you want to know what this series is based upon, other than on these couples' amazing experiences, it's based on this book from Wolfie Epklubben. He is actually the pastor in Every Nation London and the director in Every Nation Europe. So he oversees the whole region for us in Every Nation. And he has written a book called Date Talk specifically for the purpose of we want to do dating well and we want to do relationships well. So if you want to know more about it, you can order it on Amazon. I am also going to do a giveaway over the next 3 weeks. So if you want to win one, be sure you're here next week because we're going to give them away. All right. So thanks so much for joining with us online. And I'll talk to you next week, and then we'll go over here to Q&A.